Hello friends, you're watching M&J Games, and I'm Jasmine. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I appreciate you joining me today. Today I want to show you how to start a brand new city in City Skylines without any mods or DLCs. If you're a beginner to City Skylines, I'll give you a brief background. City Skylines has become more popular in recent years, competing against SimCity. Personally, I enjoy City Skylines much more, but if I got into all of that, it would be a completely different video. So without further ado, let's get started. As you can see from my dashboard here, I do have DLCs installed on my game, but I'm going to ignore those and choose a map that's offered only in the base game. When choosing a map, there are a few things you want to consider. If you're brand new to the game and have never played, I would suggest looking at those natural resources and the suitable area for building percentage. As a rule of thumb, you want that suitable area for building percentage to be higher so you have more land to work with and most likely won't have to worry about building too many bridges. Another thing you want to look at is how many natural resources your city has. I personally like to choose a map that has a lot of different natural resources and a good amount of water. So let's see at what maps we want to do. I want to make sure that I'm choosing these first few base game maps. I think I'll go with this Two Rivers one, just because it has a pretty good area for building. And let's see, what do we want to name this city? Normally, when I'm choosing a name for the city, I like to look at different cities in different locations in the US just to get some ideas. But I think on this, I'm just gonna go with the suggested name of Westwood. So, the next menu you can decide on is your random disaster frequency. So I don't want to set this too low because I do want to have a little bit of instability in the game. I mean, that's fun, right? So let me see how much this counter is. So it looks like it's 10. So I think I'm just going to settle on 2. And I'm going to turn off this day-night cycle just so you all can see everything that I'm doing, and we'll keep it on the daytime. Okay, so this screen that first pops up, it comes up every time you start a new map. It's just telling you what you need to start off with. So you want to start by building roads and zoning areas. So when you're building roads, you need to make sure that you are taking into account your traffic flow. That's a major part of the game. So when you first start out, it's a blank map, and you're going to have a little highway entrance. This is on every single map that you start off with. So your first decision is going to be how to connect this highway to your main roads. So as you can see, there are no roads available to you other than the first one, which is a 2-lane road. So what I like to do is start off with this 2-lane road, and I'll just make a very, very short piece. Then once that's placed, it opens up a little bit more options for you. So I'm going to delete this 2-lane road that I just built, and I'm going to use the 2-lane one-way road to connect my highway. So we're just going to start off on this first lane, and then we're going to do the same thing on the exact same side, on the other side, excuse me. Then I'm going to use the roundabout. So using a roundabout is a pretty much foolproof way to start off your city. The reason you want to use a roundabout is because it reduces the amount of traffic stops and intersections, and it keeps your traffic flowing. This is going to be a main artery. Well, actually, it's the only entrance into your city right now, but it's going to be a main thoroughfare. So you really want to take into account future traffic. So starting off with a roundabout is going to be the easiest, most cost efficient way to start off your roads. So I'm just going to place this here. So the next decision I have is how I want to connect these one-way roads to my roundabout. So I have a couple options. The first is just to connect them right off the bat to that little road. Another option, which that looks pretty good. Another option is to delete this road here and just to connect the one-way roads directly onto the roundabout. Now you could do it this way too. The only thing about this way is you will have two intersections that are very close together. So that means that your traffic is going to be stopping on that little strip in between the intersections, and it's going to back up traffic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that first option, and because that reduces the amount of intersections. I've got to say my perfectionism does come out a little bit in this game, especially when placing roads. It can be a little tricky trying to get everything to line up perfectly. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I like things to look as straight and perfect as possible. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So the next decision that we have to make is where we want to place our utilities. So the first thing that I like to do is look at the info view, and I like to see where the elements, the natural resources are. So let's see, we have a little bit of forestry over here and a little bit over there, and we have a little bit of farmland. So we want to keep these areas in mind for when we do want to take advantage of those natural resources. So the next thing I like to take into account is the water flow. So the water is going in this direction, and we want to make sure when we're placing our water pumps and our sewage that we're taking into account the direction the water is going. So the water pump, you want to have it at the beginning of the water flow, or upstream. That's the better term for it. You want the water pump to be upstream, and you want the sewage outlet to be downstream. You do not want to place the sewage outlet above or upstream the water pump, because it will make your citizens sick, it will pollute the water, and it's just a big disaster. So I'm going to place the sewage outlet down here. You can place it a little bit downstream from your water pump, but you just don't want to make them too close together, because eventually you are going to have to add more water pumps, and putting them too close together will just pollute the water. So I'm going to put it all the way down here. The next thing to do is to connect the water pipes to your water pump and sewage outlet. And now we have to place the electricity. So you have a few options. You can either use the coal power plant or use a wind turbine. The coal power plant is 19,000, wind turbine is 6,000. I like to start off with the wind turbine just because it's the most cost efficient. And right now I don't have a lot of people or a lot of electricity that I need. So I'm just going to place the wind turbine at the maximum amount of megawatts. So these dark areas show you where the wind turbine will get the maximum amount. Okay, so now I just need to use some power lines and connect this to the sewage outlet. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now that we have that set up, we can actually start by building a few things. So we need to expand our roads a little bit and see where we want to start off our industry in our residential zones. So as a general rule of thumb, I like to keep my industry very close to my highway just because the industry is going to bring in a lot of traffic, and it's going to bring in a lot of those big 18-wheeler trucks or 16. Oh goodness, I never know how many tires they have, but whatever. Those big trucks that carry the goods, they need to have easy access to the highway. You don't want them to be driving all the way into the middle of your city in order to pick up or export goods. So I'm just going to build some roads here, and I'm just gonna go to the second notch on the grid, and that will leave a little bit of space in between. So I'm just gonna go ahead and place some industry over here. But I think I don't want it to take up that much space since there's nothing here yet, right? So I'm just going to unzone a few of these. D-zone, unzone. Not sure what the proper word for it would be. Probably D-zone. Maybe that, I think that makes sense. All right, so now we can connect some water over here for our industry. And we're just going to try to make sure the water isn't overlapping too much because water can be expensive. So, and then we're just going to connect it to the water pumps. All right, so the next thing we want to do is figure out where our residents are going to be. So when you're placing your residential zones, you want to make sure you're leaving enough space between the residents and the industry. If they're placed too close together, your residents will get sick from the pollution, and it's just going to be a bad situation. So, as another general rule of thumb, I like to place a little bit of commercial in between my industry, separating the industry and the residential zones. So, I'm just going to place a few more roads here. I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with my industry and go 2 notches wide. And I'm just going to do that and connect another little road and then add some residential zoning. I like my zones to be pretty boxy, like a grid, just because I like things to be symmetrical. So that's just me. You can place these zones however you want them to be placed. Yeah, so I'm just going to divide a little bit of the industry and let's see if some people move in. Just going to speed up the game a little bit. And let's not forget the electricity. So I'm just going to guesstimate where these zones are going to be pre-populated first. So I'm just going to put one there for industry. Okay, so we have a little bit of people moving in. So we need to give them a little bit of electricity. So as you can see, the little blue zones, it's telling you where your electricity is connected. So I'm just going to add some water while I'm thinking about it. I'm trying not to make the water overlap too much. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to my electricity and figure out how to connect that. This is not ideal. I don't like placing these power lines in the middle of my neighborhood. But another thing that might be helpful for you is if you place the power lines directly behind the little grid. So this grid is telling you the width of the maximum width of the zoning. So whenever you do place a zone, it's going to stop at the last little block of lines. So when you place your power lines, you could do it that way, just to give it a little bit of a cleaner look so that your power lines aren't going all over the place. That's just one way I like to place power lines. Okay, so we have some industry moving in here. Just adding a little bit more residential. Okay, looks like we have a little diner over here for the commercial. Let's just add a little bit more. Okay, so our industry is growing. That's good. And the power lines worked. It's all connected and it's all working. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is to make sure you're looking at those colored bars at the bottom of the screen. They let you know what zones your city needs. So another thing here, I'm just adding a little road, because you really want to reduce the amount of roads that are dead ends. This just makes it easier for your traffic to have every opportunity to get to where they need to go, especially services, because you don't want to have too many dead end roads, because then they have to go to the very end of the road and make a U-turn. Okay, so let's just go and look at our economy for a second. We don't have access to the taxes yet because this is the start of a city, but let's look at the budget. So our roads budget really is, it says it's for road maintenance and snow dump services. We don't need those in the base game, so I'm just going to reduce this to as little as possible. Then we have our electricity and water. Let's see, let's take a look at the electricity. I'm not sure if we are at the maximum amount for that or if we need it. So I'm just checking the electricity. Okay, we're at 4 megawatts. The max is 8. I think I'm just going to leave the electricity budget alone because our city is expanding. We want to make sure our electricity can accommodate that. So now let's take a look at the water. So you can see how much more expensive the water is compared to the electricity. So we definitely don't need this much water right now. I'm just going to take a guess and reduce it to, let's see, 80%. Okay, let's see how much that saves us. Okay, so just making those changes. The water is fine, and you can also see we're actually making a profit. Okay, I'm just adding a little bit more industry based on that little colored bar telling me, it's letting me know that some more industry is needed. And look at our adorable little houses. So let's see, what is this? Make building historical. This is, I feel like this is a new feature in the game. I have not used it personally just because I don't really like the building styles enough to make them historical, but that's just me. So another thing you can do when you click on a building or a residence, it gives you this little detailed view of who lives there and whether they're educated, if they have kids, whatever. So this house only has 2 adults and they're uneducated, so they most likely are working at the industries. This is very helpful in determining whether you need schools or if you need more schools, more parks. Those are good things to look out for. Okay, look at this little truck. It's pink, pink and yellow. So some of uh, I guess the design in the game is pretty funny. It's very colorful. It's really cute though. This house is just absolutely adorable. It's like a little dollhouse. Okay, so it looks like our electricity might need a little bit of help here. I'm just going to get rid of these power lines that are running through my neighborhood. Um, I just hate when that happens. So I'm just gonna reduce these. There we go. Okay, so let's add another wind turbine. So these wind turbines you cannot place in the water. Just keep that in mind. Um, let's see. Okay, so that should help. Um, all right, so let's see here. What else can we do? Um, Another point I want to make is that this roundabout is going to need to be expanded as your city grows and as your traffic flow becomes more heavy. So you will have to upgrade the roads. Um, but until then, I think roundabouts are a really good way to limit the amount of intersections you have and control your traffic flow. So, this is a pretty much foolproof design, in my opinion. Okay, so it looks like we reached our first milestone of 420. We get taxes, loans, garbage, healthcare, education, and some other new buildings, landfill, and medical clinic, recycling center, and elementary school. So, so once we reach the first milestone, um, I usually like to place my garbage disposal. So we have a couple options. You can do the landfill site, which is much cheaper at $4,000, or the recycling center, which is at $16,000. So normally I probably would place the landfill just because it's cheaper, but in this instance, since we have a good amount of money, so I think the recycling center is going to be better. Another thing to remember with landfills is that if you place a landfill, it only has a limited amount of space. So once it's full, you either have to place another landfill or you can empty that landfill into a recycling center or the incineration plant. So I'm going to go ahead and place my recycling center. And it's a good idea to kind of place it in a somewhat central location for your industry. So there are some other things to consider because the recycling center does have noise, but the industry does too. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more industry. Let's see. Because our colored bar is kind of telling us we need to add a little bit more. So I'm also going to add some more residential zones over here. And another thing I like to do is keep those intersections clear. So I'm just going to go ahead and build out this intersection on the other side. This is just for future development. So, and also when you want to expand, it's just, I don't know, something that I like to do. So you can either keep that in mind or not. It's however you want to play. So I'm just going to zone around the intersection and leave that corner open for expansion. Let's see. So some more people are moving in. We also got in our milestone elementary school, which is $10,000. And we also got the medical clinic, which is $10,000. So the next decision we have to make is whether we want to put the elementary school or the medical clinic. So one thing you can do is look at the education info panel, see how many children you have. So we're at 94 right now. That's a pretty good number. And then another thing you can do is check the health of your citizens. So right now we don't have any sick citizens. So I think it's okay to place the elementary school first, and later on we will add the medical clinic once we get some sick citizens in here. So just as another rule of thumb, I like to place my sort of community buildings like the elementary school, the medical clinic on the bigger roads. So this medium road I want to use for those main community service centers. So I think I want to, I'm trying to figure out where I want to place this. Do I want to place it over here? I don't know. I don't think I want to put it right off that roundabout like that. I think I'm going to place it over here, and because that's a somewhat central location for the neighborhood, so okay, so it has water. So things are looking good. So let's see. Where our population is up at 627. We still need some more residential and commercial. So I'm just going to expand my neighborhood a little bit more and place some more residential zones. Okay, so it looks like we had a little power outage, so I need to add another wind turbine. I'm trying to find the maximum amount of megawatts available. So, and another thing too, with those power lines, I didn't have to reconnect because they're already connected with the earlier power lines I had placed. So you can see here with the blue, they're already connected. Okay, so I'm going back, adding some more residential. And it's okay to, even though I built this medium road, it's okay to have some residential on it. It's really up to you how you want to use your roads and what you want to be built on them. Okay, I'm just adding a little bit more here. It looks like our city is growing a lot faster than I thought it was going to. So I'm gonna need to add some more commercial and more residential based on our colored bar needs. So I'm trying to decide what to do next because I know I feel like I need to add some more roads. This main thoroughfare here, I need to add another connection from my neighborhood to my little busy industrial and commercial section. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. So another thing too to consider is what your main arteries are in your city. And I also want to check what the next milestone is. So it's at 850. So we're almost there. So I think what I'm going to do is add a curved road here. And how the curved road works is the first I get okay. So if you're on PlayStation 4 and you press X, so it's going to start in a straight line. You press X, wherever you press X is where your curve is going to start. So me being the perfectionist that I am, I'm trying to make this curve um, just as I don't. Anyway, I'm just trying to make it nice, and I hate that I have to cut through my power lines, but I'm just gonna make it really quick and add them back in. Okay, so our population is at 841 now. Um, we need some more industrial. Um, I don't want to add too much more industrial near this commercial area because I don't want my citizens to get sick. So I think I'm going to add a little bit over here. Okay, so we made our next milestone. We get a new area, some districts, policies, a second loan. We have some new services, our police department and fire department. And we also have our industry specializations. That is what we need excuse me, that is what we need to take advantage of those natural resources we made note of in the beginning of the video. And we also have a new firehouse, police station, and some new policies for our utilities. So I'm going to buy a new area and let's take a look at what we have. So this first one is 3,400. This might be what I want to do. The next one is 5,000. That would be across the highway. This other one is 4,800. That's completely across the river, which I definitely don't want to do yet. And the last option is 5,000. It's all the way on the other side of my city limits right now. I don't think I want to do that. So I'm just going to go with this first option. It's the cheapest option, and it's close to my buildings right now. I'm just going to wrap up here. If you like this video and you want more videos on City Skylines and beginner tutorials, or if you're more interested in the just playing the base game with me, leave a comment, let me know if you like it, and I can make some more videos like this. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.